What is the beast? Yonatan the Apostle John utterly detested the Pharisee rabbis of the Sanhedrin, not only because they had murdered his colleague Jesus, but because they had no real regard for the covenant of the Ten Commandments, which was supposed to be the reason for Israel's existence. The Pharisees in the Sanhedrin were using their huge influence to convince Israel that the Talmud was greater than the covenant. Jesus had dedicated his entire life to the covenant and had been educated by the leading rabbis in the country. The murderous priests of the Sanhedrin had eventually forced him to take refuge at Qumran, where he realized that he was not the only one trying to save the covenant. At Qumran, the most devout people in the world were trying to prevent the Pharisees in Jerusalem from destroying the covenant, just as he was trying to do. And Jesus certainly did not intend to allow the corrupt Pharisees to minimize the covenant in favor of the Talmud, just because they could make more money by doing so. The covenant was the only thing that set Israel apart from all other nations. Furthermore, it was the only thing that stood between humanity and savagery. And now Jesus was faced with these ghastly Pharisee rabbis who were ready to cast aside this priceless blessing. Jesus realized that it was impossible to fight the Pharisees. They were the government of Israel, and they controlled the Sanhedrin. What could he do against this all-powerful force? He slowly came to the conclusion that he would have to sacrifice his life. Jesus realized that the Jewish people would never be allowed to forget his death. And Yonatan the Apostle John would keep the memory alive, because he understood what Jesus had done. Yonatan knew that Jesus had sacrificed his life for the covenant, and he made sure that we, in his distant future, understood what Jesus had done. He expressed this with tremendous power in his book of Revelation. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, "If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb." To sum up, the beast is the body of Pharisees, and the image of the beast is the Talmud, and any Jew who supports the beast or his image deserves what he gets. And the Jews should have learnt from thousands of years of anti-Semitism. Please subscribe to this site and become one of those who seeks God instead of the beast. Paul Kaplan, author.